Today with us we have Archana Chadha. She is the head HR at HSBC Bank, and I'm Pooja Bothra, Associate Editor, ETHR World. So nice to have you, Archana.
Thank you for having me here, Pooja.
Archana, I'd like to ask you that recently you've onboarded Virat Kohli as a brand influencer. What kind of impact do you foresee from that?
So Virat Kohli is a legend by himself. He stands for somebody who keeps transforming himself, keeping up with the time, wanting to achieve the best. Also, his values tie in with the values that HSBC stands for, being responsible, taking success in his stride, collaborating, teamwork, and getting things done. So we think that the values are aligned, and that really helps us strengthen our brand. Also, he is a youth icon with so many followers. It really motivates all our staff to have such a brand influencer. Also, if you look at it from an India perspective, India is right now on this whole growth trajectory. He stands for walking forward, striving towards growth, having a global presence, leaving a mark globally, something that also ties in with HSBC, where we are on the path for growth, as well as we want to be the preferred international bank for our customers, completely in sync.
And how long are you going to have him as your brand ambassador?
For a couple of years, for sure.
That's amazing. Really exciting for the employees, I'm sure.
And customers, so.
Yes, that's also there. Archana, do you think the pandemic triggered a new dawn for the HR function?
Yes and no. Right? Because you had to be a strong HR function to survive the pandemic and the asks that came from it overnight. And that's not true only for HR, but that's true for the whole organization. But from an HR perspective, I thought of two things that really stood out, and it came up as a need during the pandemic and something we've had to continue to build on as we've come forward and out of the pandemic. To my mind, that is wellness. And it's a journey that HSBC was always a leader in. But the pandemic just made us realize how much more we had to do, and there was so much of a need. Earlier, our staff members did not realize that they needed the support, right? It was like, okay, yes, there's some initiative that is being done. But now we have so much more asks coming in. In fact, when we were coming back from the pandemic, we celebrated WOW, which is a World Wellness Day across 5 cities. So we think wellness is something, this journey that we have to continue on. In fact, we also have a Wellness Wednesday. So every first Wednesday of the month, we celebrate as a Wellness Wednesday, where we have different aspects of wellness, right? From physical wellness to mental health to financial wellness being covered over there. And another thing that we realized in the pandemic is the flexibility. And, staff did not want us to tell them what to do for their wellness. They just wanted to have the avenues available and to leverage it. So I thought that was one big learning. In our staff surveys also, that is a score which actually we see people give very genuine feedback to. So, it's the voice of the staff members. The other thing which in the pandemic was a big awakening for us was talent. And realizing that how we will need to leverage different sets of talent pool to be able to meet our needs. And it started from, whether you want to go and hire from graduate colleges and hire, train, and get them to deliver. Looking for actually attitude and capability and skills, and not for the knowledge of the job. So that was a big shift that we had to make. Another pool that we realized was women who had taken a break from work and wanted to come back. So we came up with this Power to Her program, wherein women who've taken a break can join us for a 6 months internship. And if they like us and we like them and there's an opportunity, we match it. So, you come into the system, we have mentors, we have training programs to help them come back. It's not easy to come back into the corporate world. So that's another shift that we've seen about identifying different talent pools. We also realized that people within the system wanted to experiment and try something different, and they wanted to experience this gig economy, right? And that's when we came up with this whole concept of the talent marketplace, wherein you can go, put your hand up for a project, whether in India or overseas, experience what it is to work on a project for a couple of hours a week and upskill yourself, or decide, no, this is not a space for me. So if I'm in HR and I want to learn something in the retail bank and there's a project in Singapore, I can put my hand up for it. So just bringing the whole gig economy to the country was another way in which we realized that we need to provide these opportunities to be able to retain talent. So identifying different talent pools and coming up with solutions for our existing staff was another big learning in the pandemic.
Yeah, actually, very rightly said, and I think a new benchmark is set as far as wellness or different talent pools are concerned. And to a large extent, the pandemic has triggered all this. CHRO CEO duo is very powerful in any organization right now, and it helps to mitigate uncertainties. It helps for business continuity. So, how are you at HSBC leveraging the CHRO CEO synergies?
I think it's an extremely important relationship. It has to be a relationship of trust, right? It doesn't have to be a yes boss relationship. It has to be of trust where you're able to hold the mirror to each other to say, this is working right, this is not working right. And I think the CEO lays down the vision for the organization. A CHRO has a role to build a culture to be able to make that vision come to reality, whether it is attracting people, retaining people, and developing people, from all aspects. Of course, it's not only the responsibility of the CHRO because all the business heads partner with you, but you have to be the think tank to make it happen. Also, there has to be this whole relationship wherein when you come with a solution and you want to try a small experiment, you have the entire faith and support of the leadership to back you up. So I think the relationship between the CHRO and the CEO is extremely critical. We have a homegrown CEO right now who's extremely ambitious. He has a great vision for HSBC and he shared that with us very transparently. So my role right now is to chart out and path different avenues to achieve it. By doing one thing, we will not achieve it. We have to try different, we have to be agile. We have to try different things. Something works, we continue with it. It doesn't work, we stop. So like I spoke about the Power to Her program, it's something we experimented because diversity is a big area of focus for us. And we said, let's try it. If it works, great. If it doesn't, we will do something else. And it's worked. There are certain programs which didn't work as well. So I just think that, this whole relationship of being able to accept things not working and being able to be frank with each other is the key to the organization's philosophy and building the culture.
Interesting. So, when you talk about culture, generally people have this mindset that because you are an MNC, there must be global approvals, which kind of doesn't allow you to be very agile. Right. So, is that so? And what do you think about
It's a yes and a no, right? So, there's no right answer to this because in a global organization, everybody's role is well defined. So there are certain things that I can roll out at a country level. There are certain things which could have an implication on the larger brand per se, where we will need to go for global approvals. Those at times, because it requires more approvals, you may feel it's taking longer. But I have noticed that if you're able to get good market knowledge, if you're able to inform your stakeholders why you want to do it, and you have a strong rationale, I see the approvals coming in. However, if it is something which is in the gray, I guess it has to be evaluated from the whole global lens to be, say, if I do this in one country, is it going to impact anybody else? Is it going to have a positive or a negative, repercussion? So that's where the whole, the global piece may take a little longer. But otherwise, our roles are very defined. I know what I can do, what are my limits, and that we are working at pace. So that's why my answer was a yes and a no.
Next I'd like to ask you is that BFSI is going through massive transformation. Today you have agile players, the fintech startups, and there is immense competition for business, competition to get competent talent as well. So how is HR enabling your organization to digitalize? How are you supporting business transformation?
So first of all, as an HR function, it's very important for us to understand what business wants to achieve, because otherwise you're going to be trying to train people or getting programs which don't tie in with the business vision. So I think that is a starting point. And I think it is not only the responsibility of HR, because I see my business leaders partner with me on this journey hip to hip. So like it is a super partnership, because if only one person is going to drive it, you won't build the culture. Couple of things that we have done to keep pace with the world outside, because now we are hiring from that space and we're losing to that space. So we just want to know what's happening over there. So whether it is training all our leadership in trying to have a mindset and knowing what's happening outside. Whether it is having immersion workshops, whether it is, working with players like Amazon to see how do they function in an agile manner, what can we bring in to our team. So that's one in terms of building the whole leadership capability. We've also identified as an organization that having a data mindset and being a data-driven organization, we think is going to be key for our success. So when we are hiring people, that's something that we're keeping in mind. So that's one. Anybody who joins us goes through a program, which is a mandatory program to bring awareness about data, to tell them that this is how we would like to be. We're not there. We're on the journey. Also internally, we have a lot of programs and we also give honorariums. So if you complete a data program that is of repute, you could earn an honorarium, which is an impetus for you to step out of your comfort zone and learn something new. We're on this whole journey about, data visualization, so Power BI training for RPAs. It is a whole journey and a whole course that we've put together. We also have got, data leaders, data coaches within the organization. So they are become the leaders, right? So if I have gone for a training program, seen success, and I share my story. So a lot of testimony that's happening. People reach out to them and say, how did you do it? I'm not able to solve for this particular thing. So we're seeing a lot of that conversation happening. We also have got the data quest, which is something that we create more awareness and regular sessions. So we ensure that every other month there is something on data that we're talking to everybody about, and we have super participation. We also have come up with this concept with the talent pool of the data council to say, yes, there is so much talk of data, but how is it translating into business? So, training them and then showing what are the business results is how we are trying to tie in the two.
So do you have mandates, global mandates for implementation of data, or it's just done internally?
So data is something which is important globally, but the mandates more are local aware, because the way the Indian market is, if you don't respond to it to the pace it is, you're going to be outdated as of yesterday.
So you spoke about data, but how in HR are you leveraging people analytics to digitize all employee experiences?
It's a journey. We're not there yet, but there's a lot of work we've done. So for example, we have got a chatbot, Esme. So it's like our version of Google. You can ask us anything about an HSBC policy and the chatbot would answer. Also, I think that, we've tried to bring everything together at one place, because one of the biggest challenges in a large organization like HSBC is getting this information and the right information. So, we've got it all together. So that is something which is being taken care of. We have a call center. And we believe that data is extremely critical. We actually have a chatbot called Ada, wherein employees and line managers can ask them information regarding their employee base. So, how many JCB5s do I have? What is my diversity ratio? And the chatbot will actually give them the answer and also create graphs for them. So we are on that journey to say this is important. The utilization may not be ideal, but this is made available and more awareness will help us build that. Not only that, even in my own vertical, attrition is something which every HR manager deals with. So we've tried to look at data and trends to see why are we losing people. And if we replicate the reasons why people left us for on our present population, are we able to come up with the pool of people who could be, thinking of leaving us? And we tried this for women managers at the mid-level, and we were able to come up with a list of people whom we've been able to take care of, proactive measures. We haven't seen attrition, touch wood, in that pool as yet when we think the measures are working. But it is how you use data in every small aspect of your life, as well as make it available in a bigger platform like we have got Ada right now. So.
And you're also using that for decision making and helping business?
Yes, of course. So we know when it comes down to this whole attrition data, it was for decision making. What do we want to do to be able to help people to stay back with us? Also, the way we use data for decision making is identifying pools where we see there could be a learning issue or an attitude issue or an upskilling issue. So data forms a very important base for us to be able to identify who is the pool we will be targeting, because otherwise it's just generic information that's going out.
In some of the most credible organizational ratings, HSBC is always ranked very high. So, but do you see any kind of, trend in attrition in your organization, over the last few years?
So, couple of things that we do see. Of course, you've heard of the great resignation and the silent attrition and stuff like that. We did see a spike in attrition, but it was much lower than what the market was. What we do see, people trying to experiment. So right now, the whole data, the whole employee base, earlier it was like a banker went to a bank. A banker came from a bank. So, that was our world. At the max, we would experiment is go to a B school and try and bring in somebody who was new, and we would train them to be a banker. Now what we see is there is no boundary as to where I can leave to go to and where I can hire from. So I think that is one big shift we have seen for attrition as well as for recruitment. I also see managers willing to experiment a lot, to say, what, let me just try somebody from this organization. I'm hearing a lot of things that they are doing and see if we're able to culturally match it. The biggest trick in this entire thing is about how are you able to culturally align the person joining you to be able to see the same vision that you have. So I think that the world outside is changing to a great extent, and the whole workforce is becoming a lot more diverse, and especially with even hybrid working, people are willing to experiment a lot more.
So, as you mentioned, hybrid working, how do you ensure that, there is responsibility and accountability amongst the workforce in this hybrid era?
So one of our philosophies of hybrid working is, I don't decide from where you work, but what I decide is how you work and what you deliver. And that is also so wherever we are as an HSBC employee, we are guided by our values. And our values guide us whether you work from home or in office. So that becomes like one thumb rule, like all of us will speak the same language. The other important thing that we do see in hybrid working is this is not something new that came our way when COVID came. It was a journey we were on. Of course, now everybody's experienced it. We have a lot of training material available for line managers as well as employees. We have team charters made available. We have guidebooks to say, how do you function in the hybrid working? What are the do's and don'ts? Also, we have our training programs which tell you different scenarios and say, how should you be responding to it? Besides, our performance management system is something that we believe in everyday performance and management. So I don't have to wait for the year end to give feedback. So if somebody is not behaving the way we would want them to, the feedback is then and there. And the feedback is not only from the line manager. You can seek feedback from a peer. You can seek feedback from somebody in Hong Kong you worked on a project with. You can seek feedback from another team member you were doing something with. So your feedback is like 360 degrees. And so therefore all that forms an input into your year-end appraisal rating. So I think our performance management system also ties in with this kind of a flexibility.
What's the roadway to become a people-centric organization?
I wish I knew the answer to that. But I just think diversity. And diversity is not only gender. I think thought diversity plays a very important role in building a people-centric organization. I think at every life stage of yours, if the organization is able to offer something to you that helps you tide over the situation in your personal life, that's what makes you people-centric. So, whether it is having employee resource groups that help you deal with mental health issues or neurodiversity, or you have got something to do with pride, creating more awareness about LGBTQ+, or you have balance. We have got employees who actually feel strongly about the cause and they try and make the changes. So I think that is something which is very important to get the voice on the table. Also, I feel that to pick up the pulse. So we realized that, way before the pandemic happened, and the government had come up with the whole creche facility for women. But when we took feedback we didn't see people use the creche, the allowance that we were giving for the creche, and we couldn't understand why. And so when we spoke to a couple of women, they said, in the Indian context, I don't put my child in the creche. I have a house which is running either my mom or my mother-in-law. So we were amongst the first few organizations, I think so the only organization that came out with the whole childcare allowance, where we said that if you don't use a creche facility, up to 6 years of age, you can get a childcare allowance. You can keep a nanny for your kid. You can keep an ayah for your mother-in-law who's taking care of your kid, however you want to use it. No questions asked till your child is 6 years old. So we just tried to ensure that the woman had the support that she required rather than thinking of, quitting. So that's another way you can be, employee-centric. We are amongst the few organizations that actually have got volunteering leave. So every year, an employee can take up to 2 days off and go and work with any of the NGOs that we partner with. I can go on and on with, opportunities that we have provided employees with. But being employee-centric is putting your heart in the place of what the employee would need and trying to make that available in an inclusive manner.
Very well said. Lastly, Archana, I'd like to ask you is that layoffs are a reality. Layoffs require a lot of work. So how do you ensure that the process is strategic, humane, and legally compliant?
It is a reality, and we have learned from our past experiences as to how we have dealt with these situations. So a couple of things that we do now is we're a lot more conscious about the hiring that we do. So if I have to hire in large numbers, I'm going to be very clear to see a business case to say, what, can we just first hire a few, see if this business works and then expand? So we are very conscious of that. So that's one big change in the way we function. The other thing is we have very strong employee relation policies which are legally compliant and of course have a big human element in it. So right from when we decide we would want to reorganize or, look at a function with a different lens, we start looking at are there any sensitivities at that point of time in the lives of our employees, because that becomes a starting point. We also ensure that, because when you're going through this tough time, you won't remember what was given to me, what was not given to me. What you will remember is how I was treated. So that is something we lay a lot of emphasis on respecting the person who's going through this transition. And also what we do is anybody who is going to be impacted by a change or the role not going to be existing in the long run, we do give them a couple of months to actually look for other opportunities internally. Last year, 50% of my jobs were filled in from internal movement. So that is it's not that, it's just lip service, but there are opportunities. We also let them train during this period. So if there is a skill set that they need to build on and then move on to another role where there could be an opportunity or area of interest, we do that. And we have a talent marketplace. So, they can try and see where they can bridge the gap by also doing projects during this period. So we try and make it as humane as possible. We try and be as fair, and the human element does play a very important role if we do reach a situation like this.
Those are wonderful responses, Archana. I'm sure our viewers will get to learn a lot. But before we let you go, I want to bring in the fun side of you. So I have a rapid fire round for you.
Okay.
So if you allow me, I'd like to do a rapid fire quiz with you.
Okay, I'm going to try my best on this one.
So here we start.
Is there a hamper at the end of this?
We'll keep the hamper for another time.
Okay.
So, what makes you tick?
Truthfulness and challenges. Both makes me tick.
Your leadership style in 2 words.
Authentic and compassionate.
Lovely. What would you be if you were not an HR leader?
A teacher.
Wow. What would you advise the youth embarking on their HR careers?
Understand the business and be ready to be agile and learn different things.
Who's been your role model?
Mother Teresa.
What has helped you to reach where you are today?
A positive attitude. For me, the glass is always half full. It's never half empty.
What is your stress coping mechanism?
Food and sleep.
What's your favorite food?
My favorite food is spaghetti, aglio olio.
What is the most challenging aspect of your career?
Balancing work and home. I think I grapple with it all the time.
Please share one item from your bucket list.
I want to visit Lapland. I want to see where Santa Claus is.
Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for being a part of CHRO Club.
Thank you for having me here. My pleasure. Thanks.